We'll be reading November 1st, also for Trias. All of our Trias writers in the regular series are selected by Donald Ravel, and their work complements his in some way. So please put that on your calendars. Next semester, poet, essayist, and playwright Claudia Keelan will also read for Trias, and then as our week-long writer in residence, we have Justin Torres coming, a fiction writer. So October 13th, which is a week from Saturday, a group of John Nagata's graduate students from the famous University of Iowa will once again be on campus to teach a couple of master classes in nonfiction writing. One of the classes is going to be about using voice and tone in writing, and the other one's going to be about using humor. I say that because if you want to sign up for a class, you're supposed to sign up for one or the other. You can get more information or sign up for one of these terrific classes by emailing trias@hws.edu. Or if you get confused, you could just go to the English department website, click on the extraordinarily awkward picture of me, thereby discovering my email address. So each master class will go from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on October 13th with a lunch break in between with thoroughly decent food from Char. Last year, the students positively glowed about these classes, and they're filling up really fast. I sent out an email like 3 days ago, and one of them's already got 16 students in it, so sign up fast. Finally, the English department's yearly rousing, ruckus, scary, rapid-fire reading, the traditional dead versus undead/living reading involving faculty and students, will take place on October 23rd this year, so start preparing something to terrify us to pieces or possibly make us giggle to death. A sign-up sheet will be up in Demarest in the coming week or two. Everyone's welcome to participate. And with no further ado, let me introduce one of my favorite human beings on the whole face of the earth, Trias writer in residence, Belma Bergara.
Shahid and Alan slap me silly because they want me to know that this world is worth its trembling. In a perfect world, this passage from Kazim Ali's poetry would be an entirely ample introduction. To have earned the attention and to have returned the loving concern of poets Shahid Ali and Allen Ginsberg in heaven bespeaks an amplitude beyond all critique and measure. But, as the perfection of the world is still a few hours away, allow me to say this. It would be impossible to overstate the significance of Ali's work to the conversation and substance of poetry now. From the Far Mosque all the way forward to this year's Inquisition, Ali has, with increasing mastery, restored virtues to the evolving canons that were in real danger of being lost. In academe, we are only just beginning to chart the importance of Islamic and especially of Sufi patterns and ecstasies to the devotional tradition in English. We are only just beginning to see their essential contributions to Milton, to Blake, to Eliot, to Basil Bunting and Ezra Pound. Deeply attentive to and astonishingly deft at these patterns and ecstasies, Ali's poetry has been restoring our art to its proper mind. And even more remarkable is the fact that Ali's poems have accomplished this without the least air of parochialism or of stridency. The poems are welcoming on their face, utterances available to all without restriction or reservation. In his most recent collection, Inquisition, it is quite literally amazing to see an unguarded intimacy of address wedded to the unquestionable authority and unfailing tact that are his. If poetry has any future at all, and on alternate Thursdays I like to imagine that it does, it will be owing in large part to virtues everywhere in evidence throughout Inquisition. To borrow from Ezra Pound, I can describe Ali's contribution to the art of poetry as that of a truly major synthesizer. His poems gather a live tradition from the air, enlarging the reality available to poets practicing now. Quite honestly, I am aware of no poet making a greater contribution now. Kazim Ali was born in the United Kingdom and received his undergraduate and graduate degrees from SUNY Albany and New York University. His honors include the Ohioana Book Award and the New England, New York Award from Alice James Books. He is currently an associate professor of creative writing and comparative literature at Oberlin College. And he is the author of 6 collections of poetry, most recently of Inquisition, published this year by Wesleyan University Press. Something that does not appear in the standard biography, but which I think is of great importance, is that he has also taught yoga in Palestine at no inconsiderable risk. I am delighted to introduce to you my better angel and my brother, Kazim Ali.
Hello, I'm glad to be here with you, and I'm sorry for the corporate logo that is going to shine off of my laptop while I reach you, but I have no defense. This is a poem called Divination. I imagined that I would read you all new poems tonight, just because I felt like doing such a thing. And there's very little that you can do to stop me. Square and circle my birth chart impresses, drawn to separate a single clear note emerging from a wash of ambient sound of stars and planets, individual notes discrete that revolve around the sun. Here I am, a threaded bead impaled by decades, by prayers I can't see or hear, but slide along the thread. Neither the one praying nor the prayer itself, just a clot of muscle and bone counting. I spin how clouds condense amber from the tree driftwood on the Baltic, smooth under the palm, all roughness eroded on a map of the mountain's ridges. In color, they liken themselves to some other place, Algeria rhyming with Paraguay, or Taiwan with Morocco, or Chile with Bhutan. Confusion and utterance, south wind, southern, shuttered, shut, torn, as per usual, the devil and his split tongue gives a word as another word, and in the Tenerife garden of Alhambra we saw an Arab couple with their lonely planet guide pointing out the cypress tree leaning over the pond, which may or may not have witnessed a secret assignation between a queen and her lover 500 years before, but it looks dead to me. How much we want to hold on to history. I want to hold in my arms my many lives, the one when I flew with blue wings, or when I was on my back covered in sculptor's dust, or when I spied the Arab couple in the Tenerife garden of Alhambra with the Lonely Planet guide in Hebrew, or the time in the great city I wanted to strangle myself with flowers and mist, stoking the infernos in my ribcage, reading the master letters in the coffee shop of the bus station, solid, cold, wet sky on my skin, my chest, a prisoned cathedral, never told in the park the winter brought. I am forgotten how to draw myself in ice on the glass that no one told, shattered chapters of tinsel dark, lust, and angry loneliness. I disappeared then amidst thrum and hunger. If you want to know the edge of ocean or sky, where water and air unloosen themselves, pitched into the season of orange, no weapon but green, I lost myself in the segmented time of petrified woods. You are a door leading to ardor and crime. Heretics used to burn. Your heresy is that you believe the body has a mind and a spirit too, that it is a ladder to God, that bones and muscle are bricks of battle. Of course, you could actually try to look at yourself, lie, and say casually, oh, it just came to me one day in the rain. I put on a jacket of mist and flowers in my suitcase, and all the contracts of lethargy and forgetfulness I refused to sign on the other side of the glass. I recognize a friend, the brave one, the one who unpacked all my shirts of silence. And now who am I without them? When I open my mouth, there is nothing left inside. I am only myself to throw, now grown into bell and ghost garden bird, third every night to soar, petals in my mouth. I want a big pocket full of coins now, since crazy you will be and festooned. Yes, I is you. The papers are all writing stories about you. It's the now that will be your lover, stripped in summer suck, stringed to the sky, windless. You will be a knot of cleverness. This crime is my second offense. Accordion to conventional wisdom, the wind that carries the siren song landward. A landward, land bridge, my second or third try. Can you quickly tell me, when I thought up logos, I foundered old ghost, caused almost there, built I in the roots of the earth, a stone laboratory, my labor labial, pronounced a nonce announcement, I can't spell your sin, spilled to the rest, to the west, the third most important shrine in Islam to color, always counting God by shade, this flower book dehisses, not close to you, feeling in wonder through the powder of gold air flowering fleet that sluices through. You sailed yourself to the end of vision. You spent, are spent, passed, hand in hand, lust, spawned, sent in throes of flower now. Petal yourself astronomical, sky flower, throw your voice of light. Petal yourself labial, alluvial, soaked through clear, luminous, spent, kneeling before intensity. Why should the vessel be always unscathed? Why should the eye always be spared? Don't you want to know that you have been passed through? This is a poem that's called the prayer for the chasm. The chasm's C-H-A-S-M, but it could be Kazim too, I suppose. What you ask for, hold me, whole, new moon to want you, unseen yet unctuous, willing to go to any length to rise. You lie on your back in cold spring, lost or tossed. How are they the same? Both questions to a world unanswerable. You were never known. None can spell your name, so impossible you unpronounced, never in knowable days, able to be in a place, be a person who speaks, who thinks, who does the laundry, always instead this dealer of done deals, of what's done after done playing grass, wanting then to lie at the beach, and sun and sky and solace, let it all have at you, jailed at the shore, sure that the near star will unravel solar threads to spin in gold squares a new narrative of normal, the one where you stop answering, the one where you stop asking how deep this hole, the chasm between who you were, are, thought you would be. You do not cross, are not afraid. The chasm is a thought. Who is thinking, I will live. These poems that I'm reading to you tonight are poems that I've written in the past year and under great duress, physical and spiritual. Yeah. I'm not really bantering with you tonight. You're going to have a lot of questions for me in the Q&A. How's that? This poem is called What New Name? What New Name? And I feel like it's gained it feels more and more relevant to me with each passing day, the way that we live in a flow of almost constant information, mainly useless, mainly false. So it's like a permanent state of being gaslit by the world. What new name will you bear in a world governed by code and calculation? What program will reveal the ratio between a communal identity and the loss of the individual body? You are not known or pronounced. Your nonchalance does not convince. Your scores are neither high enough to qualify, nor deep enough to be legible, nor detailed enough to play from. Custodian of nothing, childless, rude, and startled. So many scintillating shards of conversations when things shatter. Savagely unbodied by the microscopic architecture of the songless pawn. Drawn means tired, or created, or a naked sword, or tied up and torn asunder. It's not loving someone who can't love you back, but the end of loving them that is the saddest. Now, emotional intimacy has tech, yoga has tech, sex has tech, even tech has tech. You don't know even what day it is, what the weather is like, or where you are supposed to drive next. Instead, you let yourself be found like water through rocks. You are what's lost. You are the pool collecting in the ground. Speak now. Speak always. Speak in the drawn, undrawn colloquy of night. That's what new name. I would like to read you a poem called Peach. It's about a peach. It's not really about a peach. It's about a peach gummy, actually. Of a certain type. But it's more like about the essence of peachness, I guess you would say, and all the beautiful things that the peach can bring. I place the peach gummy on my tongue. I have come to Boulder, Colorado with an agenda, which is what? It is my intention to rewrite the cosmic legislation which governs time and space to better allow for what I am now calling the anarchy of sense, singular. These sensate oceans open inside, no one drowns, no one has forgotten initial wounds when we breathe not liquid but ether. These shapes require no illusions. Spring, my third season, own me. I am brought from the color blue, from the color green. I am most comfortable in pure abstraction. The pattern of rug echoing and etching in stone, and all the senators phone me. They want my vote for the wind, for the sun, but I propose the peach. Peach, the god of sun and gold, who came in my mouth and breathed me. Down the mountain trail came the runners clad in blue and green, and their intention is beyond blood and breath. Really, it is thunder, and we are gathered in the world in the weirdest of shapes. So trust now in the place that country ends and the country begins, and I am once more consulted on these affairs. What do I know about the life of the body or the life of the mind, except that there is no spirit without these two? And now they say the president is coming. For what? To build a wall, to banish the butterflies, to criminalize my bloodstream? But I am in possession of the extremist of filibusters to bust you from your peachless perch. We will have this wonder. We will have this one day of climbing up and looking over to where the continental divide slings wide every charm. I will reach for you. I swear I will not leave you without peach. I am no reliable indicator of, for example, whether a certain food is spicy or not on account of my Indian heritage. Now, where were we again? Oh yes, the glow of peach. Shake the snow globe of peach. Now in the rosy flesh we are held. I hang up on the senator. I decline all appointments to the Secretary of Swish, the Assistant Director of the Office of Homo National Normalizing Dumbfuckery, Ambassador to the State of Big Box Cul-de-sac Impossibility. My radical revision is to wander off the trail, to be lost in the backlots of the old Naropa campus, and try to find my way back to the creek by tarot card and divining rod. And may all the presidents of walls and muck and shit and drones flying in on the wind be impeached, swallowed by peach, seized by the spirit of the almighty peach. Make peach, find the peachful solution, and hi, Mr. President, you may go in peach. That is your poem of sex, drugs, and rock and roll for the evening. It included all three of those things, sort of, in various forms. Okay, so I would like to read to you a new word. Those poems are all poems that are new and that have been published. And now I'd like to read some poems that have never been published in the world. This is a poem that is called Agha Shahid Ali, who Don mentioned in his introduction. Agha Shahid Ali recites Lorca to the orderlies at St. Vincent Hospital. So Agha Shahid Ali had cancer towards the end of his life, and he was staying at St. Vincent's Hospital in New York City, which is the hospital that the poet Edna St. Vincent Millay was born at, of course, and this is where she was named after the hospital that she was born at. And that hospital doesn't exist anymore. It was torn down and something is in its place. I'm not sure what. It may be a parking garage, but it's something very quotidian. So this is a story that Grace Schulman, the poet, recounted that Shahid, at the end of his life when he was at St. Vincent's, he was walking in the hall and he stumbled, and this orderly kind of grabbed him and held him so he wouldn't fall. And he was embarrassed because he was a very beautiful and brilliant and vain man. And so he was embarrassed to have fallen and be caught, and so he did what he always does in any situation, which was flirt. He did that very well, and he started reciting Lorca to the orderly who was Latino, Lorca in Spanish. So this is Agha Shahid Ali recites Lorca to the orderlies at St. Vincent's Hospital. It's May, and the long cold spring has begun to loosen its stranglehold on the streets. Not out of mercy, but because finally it knows we are hunched down in our despair. And inside the hallways of the hospital, the poet stumbles while walking, and Angel appears suddenly to hold him. Angel from Ecuador, the patient declaims in gratitude, since sound is his most intimate lover now. As they promenade through the wing, the poet begins reciting what little Lorca he knows. Por el East River y el Bronx, los muchachos cantaban. And when he can't remember the words, his bird-like savior with coal-black hair picks up the line. Tender Angel doesn't mind being held onto, clutched, not as an orderly, but like a spouse, because, like love, the archers are blind. At night, since he cannot sleep, he asks Angel to come to his room and read from his book, another poet in New York, another dark brother who sang. While he recites from memory, Angel turns the pages and follows along in Spanish. Those silver threads wove from poet's mouth to orderly's ear, like the looping nostalgique of galaxies, because in the sky there is nobody asleep. Turn blue, the color of the sky and Mary's coat, and the blood that races back to your heart. Recite all night long on the night of majesty. The angels whispered into the messenger's ears God's words. Angel is transfixed, and no one is sure when you switch from Spanish to English, because in your mouth all words are music, while outside the sky turns orange, turns the color of life. 18 years later, there is a snowfall in April, and America drowns itself in machinery and lament. The hospital has been demolished, the poet long gone, but lingering in the wind, I still believe, on the corner of 13th Street and 7th Avenue, the verses of Lorca, quivering like a secret kiss. And somewhere in this city or country or world, I believe Angel is breathing into another's ears. Cover me with a veil at dawn. Thank you. I'd like to read you 2 more poems, and then I'll take your questions. This is a poem that is called Saint Peter. Which is a cultural reference, I hope I will not. It is unthreaded, without music, that I come to silence. The silence of God may be the ruin of belief. All the strings of the body resound in its own orchestra of always opening. Outside the sparkling silk of river, marked by time and wind, history records its milky account. Water and light are granular. We are multiple beings, always impossible to hold or bind by the sin's wild wind, by the gold first dawn denying I ever knew. This world barely holds me, seen through water or seen through light on the rain or snow, makes you more blind. Why am I bound to not declare my griefs or rapture the way a body opens in love or death? A peony wilting past summer, how can we live then without animal urge to be measured or known like that? The chill in the air to mark that twice yearly chore, carrying the plants in or out so they can live, all the while knowing how ill-equipped I am to help things live. It's true, I denied him, but I did not lie. the cock kept crowing. What I said was, I do not know him. And it's true. I do not know him. I'm going to read you one poem from Inquisition to close. Once I find it. This is a poem that is called Marie's Crisis. Marie's Crisis is the name of a bar in the lower, on the west side, in the West Village, excuse me. And it is a piano bar, but it's a piano bar of a particular sort. It's kind of a divey kind of place, but for some reason it is where the chorus boys and the chorus girls and the chorus gender non-conforming individuals all go to like have a post-show drink. And so if you're lucky and you go at like the right hour, which is like when the Broadway, they've got to take their makeup off and then they have to get on the train and go down and go to Marie's Crisis. And so if you time your evening right, you hear all of this amazing singing. And you can go on YouTube and like put in Marie's Crisis and there's plenty of clips of different people singing. And so this poem takes place in Marie's Crisis. This in the summer of 2016. And the speaker of this poem is very inventive. In case you are wondering, the voice will sound quite different from what you've been hearing from me so far. One might call it a persona poem, I suppose. We stumble through the strafing night to any harbor we think safe, and we find one on some corner in the West Village called Marie's Crisis. And in it, scores of men huddle around a grand piano and sing songs together. At some point, a woman who looks like Helen Terry, that big backup singer from Culture Club, she emerges from the kitchen to sing a number for the boys. If you don't know what Culture Club is, you can Google it. You're too young to know, probably. The crowd falls silent and she starts belting it out, and immediately I want to know, wait, what is the crisis? And then immediately after that I want to know, why is this song called a number? I mean, I know that Pythagoras believed that music resonated between planets and that the notes of a scale could be calculated and that each note itself was not even singular but had a dominant tone with 17 other harmonic tones underneath. Or am I making all this up? And why do you care? And why haven't you taken your pants off yet? Marie is singing Janis Joplin, and I imagine that I can actually feel the porosity of the table under my fingers. There is a cute, skinny blonde at the bar. He's wearing a short-sleeved plaid shirt, which I think I can get on board with, but ironed jeans and boat shoes, not so much. I'm trying to figure out exactly what to say to him, but my field is physics, not chemistry. I open with, I wrote my dissertation on the agitation that occurs in worldsheets during a redshift event. Not my strongest effort. He responds with, in Indian dance, the face is actually an instrument of the body, and so its expressions are part of the choreography. Not bad. Marie looks like she's about to burst out laughing. I know the look. It's called show tune face. Look ridiculously happy while belting out whatever song is at hand at the top of your lungs. Nobody cares. She's singing Sinatra. I met a kid in Brooklyn once who said he was Frank's son. He grew up with his mom in suburban Jersey, and Frank never acknowledged him, but used to come around and have dinner with them every once in a while and leave money. It was the night my friend Ada taught me how to take tequila shots, and I had had 7 and ended the night chatting up Danny in between his stints dancing on the bar. I found I didn't really have anything to say to him except that I believed him, that I thought Frank really was his father, that he looked just like him. And as soon as I'd said it, "These boots are made for walking" came on the radio. And I thought it pretty likely that was a sign, but I didn't say anything, and I don't know what Danny was thinking because he didn't say anything either. And it's funny that I'm thinking about that right now because Marie is actually singing a bluesy, folksy version of I Saw the Sign. And it makes me remember my friend Iraqi, who I used to listen to that song with and used to be my lover, and then only my friend, but maybe he isn't even that anymore because I haven't heard from him in 8 months, and I have no idea what he is doing, because all he ever posts on Facebook are links to news stories about global public health. Marie's voice is scratchy and smoky and whiskey-soaked, and it's not even what you call pretty or good, but she is sinking for everything she's worth. The bar is cute but small and a little shabby, and the blonde wants to know if I'll sing a duet with him when Marie is done, and that makes me think I either better marry him or make a run for it while I've still got some lead time. I can't sing, but I have developed an equation that can calculate exactly how long it is going to take for you to take off your pants. Don't say physics doesn't have any practical applications. Then someone tells me that's not even Marie, it's Maggie, the night manager. It's been a week since that club in Florida got shot up, and my parents still haven't called to see how I'm doing. Maggie's singing the Boy George part of Church of the Poisoned Mind, and I'm 3 sheets to the wind anyhow, so I will tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to climb up on top of that piano and do the Helen Terry part. Maggie's voice is straining, and it's not even her crisis. But she is the biggest star in the room, and a girl needs backup. Thank you, everyone. How's everyone doing? What have we done tonight? After all, at some point the planet will end and the universe will end and our words will have been just smoke and breeze, basically. So that's something nice to look forward to. Okay. All right. We have a chance. I could ask you questions, but maybe we'll do that later. Hello, yes.
I was wondering how much time you spend with the poem before you feel like you're able to put it away and say it's done.
Probably a lot of time, and then I don't know, it's not often, did everyone hear that question? She said, how much time do you spend with a poem before you put it away and feel like it's done? So it's a tricky question. And sometimes spending time with a poem isn't spending time with a poem at all. So I'll write something and leave it sometimes for a very long time, like months or years even, to then go back to something and see it anew. So there's not really like a one process for me, but that's, a dodge. I really will try to work on something, deeply for, the period that I'm with it, whether that's a day or a week. It's something that I will want to focus on that thing, and I will not like to give a sort of half of my attention to it. And that's why the poems will drift in and out for me. And they live in the cloud, so there may be many of them that I'm working on at the same time. It's not as if there's just one thing that I'm fully working on. That happened once. I worked on a very long sequence of poems of about 40 sonnets, and I worked on it. I began writing these things in like July of 2016, and almost until November of that year, it was just those things that I was working on. But as soon as my attention felt like I couldn't give it to it fully, I had to move away from it, because I think you can ruin, we have, our minds have such distractions. It's not our fault, it's just the world that we live in, and it's very, very difficult to engage with art when there are these kind of external concerns come. I've been obsessed with the news, like following the Supreme Court nomination over the last week. I have not at all tried to make any art in this time. I feel utterly distracted. I'm still writing, quote unquote, like in my notebook or something like that, but I would never attempt to try to find a poem in it, I feel like the winds of the world are quite strong, and they will buffet you and blow you overboard, and they could compromise the work. So it's an argument for the concept of a retreat. Of course, retreat is always a privilege. We have to have access to that retreat. The one benefit that a student at a college has is that you do have a moment where you can focus on different things. And so it's a very fruitful time period. And I think the secret to continuing a writing practice or any art making practice, is creating structures that allow you to continue that dedication after you leave the environment of the college. So the answer for some of us was like, we'll just stay and be professors, we don't have to leave, sort of, quote, we do, it's different, but that is one of the things that draws us back, and then you have the calendar, in which, you have the summer and all of that kind of thing. But for most people in the world, there isn't that luxury. So we have to create with our time in different ways, whether that's like the old religious practice of like certain hours in a day that people use, or if it means certain times in the year. So for me, I can't work at all while I'm teaching, but I work every summer. So that's one thing that I would say to you. So it's like 3 months with a poem, and then I really don't look at them actually for 9 months. And then I come back to all of them and work on them together. I think one thing you could kind of see, the poems that I read to you tonight, they were all worked on together. And so anything you heard was not like an intentional move to make a cycle of poems. It was more that I just wrote them all together. Like I think I used the word pronounce 5 times in the different poems. It's not on purpose. It's just because I'm working on them in such a compressed time period that my brain gets key to like a certain kind of vocabulary. That's why it's important for me to work in so many different forms, because I think I do have a limited range of interests actually. Like I want to know what the world is for, pretty much, and I'm obsessed about that, and I want to know who God really is. So, there's only a couple of things that I wonder about, and so I think if the poems themselves weren't very different, they would be boring to me, and probably everyone else. Yes, M.F.A.
I actually had a follow-up question. You said that you try not to write when you are following the news, but I was wondering with your identity, with someone who you publicly identify as a Muslim, how does that affect, like, how does that affect your work? So do you, because I'm a Muslim student, so I feel like as a Muslim we are mostly affected a good number of times because we are in a lot of political conversation, so how does that affect? And when I think about it, I barely write, but when I do write, it's almost like the events in the news, for good reason or bad reason, that almost motivates me to write. So how do you balance that? And then I also have just another question in terms of, I was wondering if I haven't read any of your poems, to be honest. So I was wondering if you use other languages in your poem to bring in, almost like bringing another perspective, with literally bringing a language to your poem. So those are the 2 questions.
Yeah. That is a very complicated, the first question you asked was very complicated. So, I think in the beginning when I was writing in my early books, I was really exploring kind of Islamic spirituality very closely. But when that identity became really politicized, I developed a distaste because I didn't want to be thinking about like a political agenda as I was approaching the poetry itself. It was difficult for me because it's very personal, and I wanted to maintain that relationship. So I kind of tried to negotiate that vexedness, and I did it in maybe like my next 2 books after. The first 2 ones are more like that. They're a little more troubled in terms of the relationship of religion as a personal practice, a cultural identity, because those 2 things are also different, and then how it plays in the public life, basically. So I understand that tension. With my last book, Inquisition, that was mentioned, there is that poem, Marie's Crisis, is in it. And it was about the Pulse nightclub shooting and about, how to respond to that as a Muslim person and as a gay person, because it was a Muslim guy who shot everybody there. And so that was my effort. I was invited by the poet Natalie Diaz, she was compiling responses, and she asked me to write something, and I told her I couldn't, but I did. That was what I wrote. But I wrote it about that feeling of alienation, of, you know, nobody in my family thought to call me about it, how I was feeling. But I never really mentioned it at all. I mean, the poem is completely about that, but it's never mentioned. And I don't even imagine the speaker of the poem to be a Muslim person. But it's like me, you know. And then on the flip side of that, I would say also in my book Inquisition, there is a poem called America the Beautiful. And that was a poem that I was invited to write as well by someone who was compiling political responses to the presidential election in fall of 2016, and I said to that person no as well. And I think the reason I said no in both cases is that I needed to have the poem to be personal and not be yet. I mean, I knew I would publish it eventually, so it's going to go in front of people, but it has to, in its creative stages, be personal for me. And there are poets who don't have this problem at all, and they're wonderful people and great poets, but I know that I feel like too much would be taken away from me. And that poem is very direct, and it's really about being Muslim, and it's about a cousin of mine who has married a woman who is a convert. You know, she grew up as a white evangelical in Wisconsin, but now she's Muslim. So the poem is actually about me as a gay Muslim, like born Muslim, and then her as a former Christian turned Muslim, like middle American turned Muslim, and like the kind of, and we're very close to each other, you know, and so I do deal with it directly there. So I think you can. I don't think that you shouldn't. Mahmoud Darwish, the great Palestinian poet, was often asked about why he didn't have more political things about the Palestinian people in his poems, and he always claimed that the responsibility of the poet was to define humanity for the people, and that the poet has no political role. In other words, the political role is for the people. It doesn't mean I am a person and a poet. It doesn't mean I am not political. I'm quite political, but I guess I see my job as a poet to be something else. Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Hi. So I have a question. I think it's really commendable that you're able to write about things that are so personal to you, like your religion and the shooting. And I just was curious. I'm in a creative writing class right now, and we are asked to write our own pieces. And something that I've just been finding out, because I have never really written before, is that writing becomes really personal very easily. And so I'm wondering, I guess, where you draw the line. Do you ever feel like it's too much of your own confidential information and you feel like you need to keep it private, or? Because
absolutely. It took me a long time to write personally at all, because because I was dealing with being gay and worrying about how to talk to my family about that. In the beginning, when I started publishing poetry, none of it was personal. It was all very, dealing with spirituality and thinking about philosophical ideas. And if there was personal things in it, it was like not really about, not super personal. The super personal stuff I was keeping to myself. And I actually came out both poetically and actually in a book called Bright Felon. And I had to write that whole book in order to get there, because it was really difficult. So I would say to you that I don't think it's as important how personal or specific or intimate you're being in the poems, because you can write persona poems. You can be quite personal by writing through persona. Fiction writers do it all the time, And so what I was doing is I took the figure of Icarus, Daedalus' son, and I used him as a giant extended metaphor for being a gay son of a religious father, because it's the son who doesn't listen to his father. He flies too close to the sun, and he falls into the sea and drowns. But of course, my Icarus has to live because I did, so he also does. So there's lots of different strategies, I think. But the writing of these personal things, it's like, the question is why are these poems important? So Odysseus Aletus, the great Greek Nobel laureate poet, he said, the goal of any true poet is to have 3 real readers. And since any reasonable person has at least 2 people that love them, a poet's career becomes the search for that 3rd reader. And I really love that. Like, there's really only one other person in the world, really and truly, that you are trying to find. Brenda Hillman, the contemporary American poet, said something different and also beautiful, which is, she said, these poems, the reason these poems are important is you. Like, you are writing those poems for your own self. And I think that's incredibly important to remember. So when you're in a pedagogical setting, like you're writing a poem and you're turning it in, you will have to figure out the strategy for doing. I mean, I was writing poems about works of art, I was writing poems in the voices of mythological figures, I was working really hard on my poetry, but I wasn't like opening my chest, you know? That's just the way I did it. And I was in a workshop at NYU, in my M.F.A. workshop with Ada Lamone, who was in my workshop, and she was doing that every week, you know? So different people were doing different things, and it's fun whatever you do. And then the last answer to your question is that there are poems that I write that I will not publish. And there's a little folder, I have that little folder on my laptop that I was reading to you about, and there's one that says, ready to send out, there's one that says publish, and then there's one that says not to be published. And those are the ones that I'm just working on that I'm not ever planning on printing. I read one at a reading once, and I had 3 different editors. It was in New York, so there were a lot of editors in the audience. And 3 different editors came up to me after the reading and asked me if they could publish the poem, and I just said no. So it is allowed, in other words.